Well, we're here at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, and we have Linda
Hi.
and Ken Crossland.
Hi. Hi.
And you are in Tennessee, but this is not the first time you've been to the States, and it's not the first time you've been to Tennessee, right?
No, this is my 32nd state that I've visited now in the USA out of the 50. So somewhere to go, but I think I'm doing pretty well. Linda's done 30.
Yeah.
I did a couple on my own on business some years back. And yeah, not a second time in Tennessee, because last year we came to Memphis and travelled down to New Orleans. So we felt we'd missed out on Music City. So this year was an opportunity to fill that gap.
So what do you think about the Music City? What have you done while you've been here?
We've been to the RCA Studio B.
Yep.
And we've also been to the Country
Music Hall of
Country,
Fame.
Yes.
Yeah. And the Ryman Auditorium, the original home of the Grand Ole Opry, and the Johnny Cash Museum.
We've been to the Grand Ole Opry.
The Grand Ole Opry itself, the show last night,
yes.
which was just sensational.
Yeah, excellent.
And
yeah, we've had lunch with Anton.
And lunch with Anton, and
Exactly.
it's just been, the whole thing's been fantastic. We stood in Studio B this morning. That was where, don't think Bing ever recorded there. I know for a fact that Perry Como recorded his Scene Changes album there in 1965. And the tour guide told us that they had a sweet spot in the studio, a little X on the floor, where they always positioned the vocalist. So it was good to stand and have my photo taken where Perry recorded Dream On Little Dreamer and My Own Peculiar Way. And I know he recorded his much bigger hit record of And I Love You So in Nashville, so I assume that was probably Studio B as well. I don't know that for a fact, but I can't think of where else it would have been. So if there's not a lot of Crosby history there, there's a good bit of Como history, which was nice to see.
And lots of really good vocalists recorded there. Jim Reeves and Eddie Arnold and Patsy Cline, Roy Orbison, all of the big acts here in Nashville.
Yeah. And Elvis recorded "Are You Lonesome Tonight" in the dark, we're told, because he felt that helped the mood. And there's an audible.
Stood on the sweet spot.
Yeah, he stood on the sweet spot, but there's an audible bump somewhere in the recording where he bumped into the microphone stand because he couldn't see it because it was in the dark. I don't know whether that's true, but it was a good story.
Now your trip has to do partly with golf, right?
It is. The culmination of the trip is to go to the Masters down in Augusta on Wednesday and Thursday of next week. That's a bucket list item for a golfer, if ever there was one. And I realised last year when Rory McIlroy finally won, and I got so involved with that I'd been watching the Masters on TV for nearly 50 years. And so I said to Linda, I don't want to be sitting here in 10 years' time saying, why did we never go to the Masters? So I said, let's go. So that's primarily what brings us here.
Yeah. Now, golfing was a big part of Bing's life. Are you a golfer because of Bing?
No, purely by coincidence, but it was just another of the things that kind of enamored me to Bing was that I shared his love and passion for the game.
We're in the city that we know as Music City, USA, and most of it has to do with country music. What do you think about Bing Crosby's country records, more country-oriented recording?
I've always liked them. The 30s, the cowboy songs as they were known then. I think some of my favourite tracks, Goodbye Little Darling. I don't know whether I think of it as a country song. It was on one of the cowboy albums, I think, that Brunswick reissued. And I said to Linda this morning, one of the things I found interesting going around the Country Music Hall of Fame was to see references to so many of the songs that were being included on the Great Country Hits album, but by reference to the country singers who'd had the original hits with them, most of which I wasn't familiar with. So it was good to see that. We heard a very old recording of the Wabash Cannonball that went back to the 30s, which
Roy Acuff.
I think it probably was. Yeah.
What did you think about the Country Hall of Fame for somebody who is not primarily interested in country music?
Excellent.
Yep.
Absolutely excellent. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's little bits there that you've probably heard in various records or seen on TV, and it just makes you think, oh, I know that.
Yeah,
I can remember that bit.
The amount of stuff there, and the way it's presented with it as a timeline is great. And I found the very first exhibit sort of caught my imagination and interest, where they explained where the fiddle came from, the British and Irish settlers, and then the banjo was from the African Americans back to the days of slavery, and how the two instruments had coincided in this part of the world and formed the basis for what became country music. And it was just fantastic. And the highlight last night was actually hearing a bluegrass version of Lady Madonna, the Beatles song, it was a testament to the genius of the Beatles writing, that the song sounded as though it had been written as a bluegrass number.
Yeah.
It was done by a group called the Hill Finders, was it?
No, Hill Benders.
Hill Benders, yeah.
Hill Benders.
And that was stunning.
You know, the Grand Ole Opry is the longest running radio show in history. It's over 100 years old, and it has been broadcast non-stop every week since 1925. What was your experience like at the Grand Ole Opry, which, it's amazingly still broadcast so many years later? What can you tell about the Grand Ole Opry to people who may never have been there?
Whoa! The thing that struck me was that it was so true to what I believe to be its roots. It felt like a family gathering, a big stage with everybody visible on the stage, the backing musicians, the VIP guests who were sitting at the back.
Right. Yeah. The radio announcer.
And the radio announcer, and then the sort of vaudeville or variety feel to the flow of acts. Yeah. And it just struck me as something that was so true to its roots and its traditions, but so thoroughly entertaining in the modern world. And I didn't really know, neither of us knew what to expect, did we, when we came in?
But enjoyed every single minute.
And having been to the Ryman Auditorium, its previous home in the morning, it was good to see how they'd replicated much of the design principle into the current, more modern Opry building, and that wonderful touch with the circle on the stage, taken from the original stage, where the singer actually sings is from the original Ryman stage, and we absolutely loved it.
Yeah, and a lot of pop singers sang at the Ryman Auditorium. It wasn't just and jazz musicians. It wasn't just a venue for country music, but I think the Duke Ellington Orchestra, for example, played there, and so it just is.
Did Bing ever work in Nashville? Do you know?
I don't think so. Not that I know of, and in fact, I've always wondered. Because they talk a lot. Whenever you hear about country music and pop music and the history of it, how important the record of Cold Cold Heart by Tony Bennett was, which was a Hank Williams song. Yeah. Because it made it into a mainstream pop hit. Yeah. But in reality, Bing Crosby was doing that before the 1950s. So
absolutely.
It is surprising to me that Bing Crosby never was invited to play or to sing at the Grand Ole Opry. I wonder if that's because it was, conceived to be or perceived to be a completely different kind of music. But I think Bing Crosby would have been, in many ways, at home on the Grand Ole Opry.
Yeah, I wondered that. I wondered if I would see a reference to Bing anywhere in the Country Music Hall of Fame. I saw one. But it was the list of records that was on the Wurlitzer jukebox that they had.
Oh, right. Okay.
And one of them was I'll Be Home for Christmas by Bing. So, nothing else.
No.
Yeah, when I used to have my radio show here in town years ago, I made it a point to play a lot of the Bing Crosby records that could be considered, country music or pop versions of country songs, going back to those singing cowboy tunes like The Last Roundup or, some of those, and I feel like Bing Crosby did a lot to popularize and to make country music more acceptable than it was in the 1930s, because a singer of his stature, singing those songs,
absolutely,
is must have been a huge thing,
Yes.
in those days. And not only that, but he was singing them on the radio and on movies. And,
Yeah.
So yeah. So what is left of your American? You've just arrived in the U.S. a couple of days ago, and you've done quite a few things. But what is left of this American trek of yours?
Well, we go next to Chattanooga, famous for the Glenn Miller song, the Chattanooga Choo Choo, even though it didn't actually exist. But we've got a couple of days there. Then a couple of days go to Knoxville and Nashville, en route to North Carolina, and we're staying with two different sets of friends over next weekend. And then we go south to South Carolina to Columbia, state capital, which is our base for next week, and we get bussed into the golf for a couple of days from there, and then we fly home on Friday.
But not without seeing the Masters at Augusta.
We will see the Masters, the par 3 competition on the Wednesday, and the first day of the competition play on the Thursday. Fly home Friday, and then be watching the final 2 rounds on the TV. But probably sitting on my little fold-up Masters chair if we can get it back home.
Yeah.
Are you planning on buying any records while you're here?
No.
No.
I guess the answer has been given. Yeah? Okay, final question. What would you say, what message would you send to the members of the International Club Crosby from the grounds of Vanderbilt University here at Nashville, Tennessee?
Oh, I think that this is, I'll go first. Well, hi everybody. I think I would say this is undeniably Music City.
Yes, it is.
If you have an interest in music, whatever music, you can't fail to find Nashville absolutely fascinating and such a rewarding place to come. And I'm so glad that we've finally been able to tick this box.
And if you want a pair of boots, you can go to anywhere basically and find really different
Cowboy
style
boots,
cowboy boots. But we wouldn't be able to get them home, so we can't have any.
Yeah, that's what Nashville is about, the music and the outfits,
And
Yes.
the outfits,
as well.
definitely. Yes.
All right, so for everybody out there, I was going to say in Radio Land, but no, on YouTube Land, belonging or not to the International Club Crosby, we're signing off from Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. Linda and Ken Crossland.
Bye.
Bye.